welcome. Today I'm going to be unboxing Clank in Space. Alright, so let's see what's in Clank in Space. Alright. So, I've played the original Clank several times, but I have never played any of the expansions for it. And this is actually a standalone game, Clank in Space. In fact, Clank in Space even has its own expansions as well. So that's something to note. So you do not need the original Clank in order to play Clank in Space, which is pretty cool. Because I think I prefer aliens and robots instead of monsters and magic any day of the week. And this is kind of interesting because the original Clank, which, had monsters and magic and was basically, the board was basically in a dungeon. And so this board, however, is on a spaceship, which is pretty cool. So let's see here. So we got some more. I don't know if this is, let's see here, Doomsday Cannon. Huh. And the other one says hydroponics. So we got those two. I wonder if this is, I wonder if you only play with one of these three or something. And you add it to the main board. Med Lab. And it's double-sided. So Promenade is on this side, so that means there's boards on the other side of, they're double-sided boards. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well here's Clank. This is where all the cubes would go before they go into the bag. That's pretty cool. And it looks like this also connects to the board as well. Let's see here. I don't know what this is. Oh, money. Maybe you're supposed to put the credits on here. I don't know. And then we've got another section of board, it looks like, that could possibly attach to the main board, maybe. And then, let's see here. Then we have, oh, here's the health bar. Okay, so here's our bars for the health. Because this is a deck building game. And even though it's a deck building game, now the deck building game, of course, I'm more familiar with is Dominion. But Clank is a little different when it comes to a deck building game. Because it's also a board game as well. And as you go through this board, because you'll have a player marker, as you go through this board, you might get injured along the way. And so your Clank cubes of your color are going to go here if you get damaged. And if the entire bar fills up from where the hearts are to where those skulls are, then game over for you. You're dead. You lost. Or not dead, but you are not going to be able to continue your journey with everyone else, basically. I know that in the original Clank, if that happened to you, you would be rescued by the townspeople or something like that. So, but that's kind of interesting. And then here we have the main board. Well, the majority of the main board, anyways, or half of it, I guess, with I suppose that's this section of the board here on the right is the rage counter for Lord Eradicus, which is what this is. So in the original Clank, you had the dragon as your boss, as the one who would deal a lot of damage to you if there was a lot of your colored Clank cubes in the bag. And in this one, it's a notorious evil empire, or Lord Eradicus, from the Eradicus Empire, which control like the vast majority of space, I guess. And here we have our tokens, keys, we got some key tokens here and some other items that I'm not 100% sure of. Maybe something similar to the bags from the original. These are our main artifacts. So we're going to try to, the object is to try to get one of these 6 artifacts right here. That's the object. To take one of those with you. Find it, and then take it back to your spaceship, I guess. And that's the object. And so you shouldn't leave until you've gotten at least one of these 6. So, and then that's another thing. The green circle indicates victory points. So that's how many victory points you're going to get. There are other ways of getting victory points. And then these are the credits. These, you use these to buy... you don't use them to buy cards, but you use them to buy certain products, like a key, perhaps. Some areas are locked and require a key, for instance. So you're actually, in order to buy cards in this game, you actually use something similar to like energy or something like that, and certain cards will give you that type of currency, which is a blue currency. And as you can see, these are green, there's no blue, and those aren't obviously blue either. And it looks like one of the credits fell out already, and here it is. Okay. So I did sort of open it up earlier because, you know, sometimes it can be kind of a pain to get these cards out of the bags. So let's see if we can get the rest of it off. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So here we have some cards. So we have the Shapeshifter. And it's kind of blurry. Let's see if I can... There we go. So here we have the Shapeshifter. And so you see that card on there, top right. That's got a 2. That indicates it's going to give you 2 extra victory points at the end of the game. And so that's kind of interesting. And copy another card in your play area. I wonder what that means. Because I expect some of the rules to be different compared to the original Clank. But while I expect that to be the case, I also expect some cards to be relatively the same. Like, in order to traverse through the board, you're going to need movement. And so this indicates 1 movement. And that's energy. That's to buy certain cards. Some cards will require money to buy, obviously. And see, this one, it says, in order to purchase this, you need 3 energy. This card is giving you 2 energy, so obviously you would have to have another card to get one of these, obviously. Assuming you already had this and you wanted another one of these. But in order to move through, you need to be able to have an actual movement on one of your cards in order to actually move. And that means, you know... then, as you're moving through things, you're also going to need weapons. Because as you move through the corridors, there are going to be enemies along your way, and if you do not have somebody with you, or some sort of weapon on you, like the Space Pirate here, or just some weapon that has some of these sword tags on it, you're going to get hurt by those enemies, and you're going to lose a lot of health. So while you're moving through corridors, you want to make sure you have somebody around or a weapon that has some of these tags on it to defend yourself from a would-be attacker. So that's kind of interesting. And it has all sorts of interesting things when it arrives, and even has a danger thing when it arrives. So, these aren't the cards you actually start with. You start with 10 cards in your deck, and none of these are the cards that you would start with. So, let's see here. But there's a lot of cards, and let's see what we've got here. All right. So now these are like the enemies. So the red indicates an enemy, and so sometimes you'll draw a card in this like purchase location where you can purchase a certain amount of cards. Well, sometimes there'll be enemies in those areas too, and so you have the option, if you have enough swords, of course, to take out an opponent, like this Killbot, for instance, you could take it out. Also, I think this one here is, and it's double-sided, I think this one is this is an enemy you always have access to. You can always defeat this enemy for 2 swords, and you get a credit for defeating it. So if you ever have 2 swords lying around, sword tags, and you're moving through the corridor and there's nothing to fight, then you could use these two of your swords, if you had 2 swords, that is, to defeat this enemy for free as many times as you wanted per turn. Or, I mean, I think it's just once per turn per enemy. But you could do this every turn if you had the swords and they weren't doing anything else, to at least get a credit, so you could purchase things like keys and things like that. So there'll be stuff you can purchase all the time, and then there'll be just things that show up that'll look really cool that you might want to purchase, and it's none of these cards, I don't think. So it's got to be this pile here that has the starting cards. And here we are. And here it is. Stumble. So this is one of the starting cards. And everyone's going to start with a stumble. And it's going to give you a plus Clank. And that's bad. You don't want Clank, because that's gonna wake up the big honcho, the big boss in the spaceship, and you're gonna get hit maybe from an attack. So you do not want to. You want to try to move through his spaceship as quietly as possible. But unfortunately, unlike in Dominion, where you can choose which cards you want to play, this one you have to play every card in your hand. You start with a hand of 5 cards. And sometimes you'll have cards that say to draw cards. But you will always have to play every card you have. So you could have, okay, here we go. We have like, for instance, Access. And we have Scramble. And we have Hack. So you would have to play all 3 of these cards. I mean, all 5 of these cards. You'd have to play Hack, Scramble, Access, Stumble. All 5. If this was your starting hand, you'd have to do all of them. You could choose which ones you were going to do first to last, but you would have to play all of them. And so basically, the Hack would give you an energy. Scramble would give you an energy, so you could buy up to a card costing up to 2, for instance. But Scramble would also give you an additional movement. And Access would give you a movement. And then you would have to add plus 2 Clank to that Clank pile on the board. And then, if the Lord Erraticus wakes up and attacks, all of the cubes sitting on the board will go into a bag. The bag is right here, in fact. So here's this bag here. If I can... There we go. Here's the bag. So the cubes will go in here. The bag will be shook, and you'll have some cubes randomly drawn from this bag, and maybe your color will be on it. And then you'll have some damage to your health. Now, there are ways to heal yourself, obviously. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Boldly go, aliens. Gotta love them. Okay. So that's all the cards I wanted to show you. But, we'll do a bunch of videos on this game at some point. And here's our boss marker for the rage counter. And here we have some cubes. And here's a bag full of the cubes that we'll be using for our colors. And our player markers are in here too for the colors as well in this big bag. So that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this game. It's probably going to have a few different rules to, So here's our some of the colors that we have to choose from to play with. Here's some player markers. Here's all the player markers, actually. So, and along with some other cubes. And then, here's some more. And some more. And these black ones are actually for the boss. So if these are drawn from the bag, because these actually start in the bag, if these are drawn from the bag, then nobody gets hurt, which is kind of cool. So you're safe if those are the ones drawn. So it'll be these mixed up with whatever color, how many other players are playing, you know, obviously. But that's kind of interesting. I think that's pretty much everything that's worth showing you. Kind of made this a long video already, so yeah, we'll have to do a how to play video at some point after I figure out the differences between this one and the original. Well, I hope you guys liked this unboxing video. I definitely enjoyed sharing this awesome game with you guys, and I hope this will be, you know, about the same as the original Clank, if not better. So, all right. See you guys around. Thank you for watching.